to your place.
Yes, yes.
Financial utilization. And then
23 financial year. Namely, this money has already been deposited, so we can give a hand clap for that. So His Excellency will then hand the check to the CS Treasury for safekeeping. Wonderful.
It's a great honor for me to welcome you all to the Central Bank of Kenya. We're also very grateful to His Excellency for finding time to join us on this momentous occasion, which is a culmination of a long journey spanning more than 6 years the CBK has gone through in developing the new, agile, and transformative financial market infrastructure called the DhowCSD. The CBK continues to work closely with the stakeholders to implement strategic reforms that will enhance efficiency and effectiveness in the attainment of its mandates and in pursuit of its vision to be a world-class modern central bank. Your Excellency, as you are aware, the CBK is mandated to formulate, implement monetary policy directed to achieving and maintaining price stability. We are also mandated to foster liquidity, solvency, and proper functioning of an efficient, sound, and stable market-based financial system. On this front, I'm happy to note that despite the negative global developments that have transmitted into the local economy, inflation has now firmly returned to our target range of 5% plus or 2.5%. And this is due to the strong measures that have been taken by the monetary policy of the CBK and the supportive measures by the government to improve food supply across the country, including the provision of subsidized fertilizer. Inflation has declined from a peak of 9.6% in October of 2022 to 6.7% in August 2023, and we expect it to continue moderating in the next few months. This has been mainly due to inflation from around 16% in September, October of last year to 7.5% in August of this year. Your Excellency, it will be remiss on my part if I did not mention which is usually referred to as inflation targeting. The framework introduces an interest rate corridor set at plus or minus 2.5 percentage points on either side of the CBR. Monetary policy operations to inject or withdraw liquidity are then targeted at ensuring that the interbank rate tracks very closely the CBR rate. And therefore, unlike the situation pertaining before, there is now a direct relationship between the CBK policy rate, the CBR, and commercial banks' interest rates, thereby making the transmission of monetary policy to the economy much more effective. To enhance further the effectiveness of this monetary policy framework, we have also re-energized the overnight discount window at the CBK, which the banks were not using before, by removing bureaucratic procedures and lowering the interest rate charged to banks that access this window by 200 basis points. This window will be available to banks to access liquidity to meet their cash ratio requirements in the event they are unable to obtain liquidity in the interbank market. Ladies and gentlemen, the long journey to the rollout of the DhowCSD has been made possible through a partnership of the CBK, the National Treasury, commercial banks, investment banks, the CMA, the Nairobi Stock Exchange, and the Kenya Revenue Authority, and other stakeholders, including the World Bank and the National Bank of Georgia. In 2016, the National Treasury and the CBK, with the support of the World Bank, initiated the acquisition of a new CSD that would enhance efficiency in government securities operations and introduce automation to foster growth and stability of the financial market. This is aligned with the CBK's strategic focus area of automation and commitment to promoting growth, efficiency, and stability of the financial sector. The DhowCSD that the President is going to launch today went live on July 31st, 2023. It is a versatile financial market infrastructure that will enhance operational efficiency in the domestic debt market and also improve monetary policy transmission and implementation. Players in the Kenya interbank market have already started benefiting from the system, as it has enhanced liquidity distribution, and it has also enabled the CBK to support commercial banks with liquidity when necessary at much lower discount rates in the CBK overnight window. The DhowCSD is therefore expected to promote a well-functioning interbank market, capital market growth, market deepening, expansion of the digital access for broader financial inclusion, and position Kenya as the preferred financial hub in the region. In addition to helping manage systemic risk, the system has improved and automated operations by eliminating paper-based processes. We are delighted to have His Excellency the President launch the DhowCSD at this moment, as it will enable the CBK to more effectively fulfill its dual mandate of ensuring price and financial system stability. With improved monetary policy transmission, our inflation targeting monetary policy framework will be more accurate and the policy actions will be more effective. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to sincerely thank Your Excellency for taking time from your busy schedule to grace this auspicious occasion. I hope, Your Excellency, that very shortly we will be able to again interrupt your busy schedule to come and launch the Emakiba, a product that I know you are very passionate about. Let me also thank all those stakeholders that have been involved in the long and difficult journey of developing the DhowCSD. We are very grateful to the World Bank and the National Bank of Georgia for their invaluable support, and to the National Treasury and all the market participants for their significant contributions.
The central banks in all emerging and frontier markets like Kenya are currently faced with significant headwinds arising from monetary policy tightening, especially in advanced economies, and more so the challenges that are posed by supply-side shocks that have hit the economy for so many years now, accounting 4 years, especially starting with the drought last year and also the subsequent supply shocks. These supply-side shocks marked a very difficult season for central banks, given their mandate is to ensure price stability, but pressures from the supply side do require more than bringing the supplies back into the market, whereas the central bank use the demand side tools. But I'm happy to note that given the interventions the central bank and the government have implemented, the Kenya sharing, the exchange rate is now stabilizing. And the Monetary Policy Committee has also taken measures to address inflation. This, together with measures implemented by the government to support increased agricultural output, have resulted into a decline in inflation to 6.7% from a high of 9.6%, as the governor mentioned. And we do expect this to be a declining trend on inflation, especially as we continue to see food supply coming back into the market, and even productivity and production increases in our farms, in our smallholder farms and even larger farms. The global developments have drastically worsened the external financing conditions, and this has limited Kenya's access to external borrowing and even affected the domestic the debt market liquidity. For this reason, the domestic borrowing targets, for example, for the financial year 2022-2023 was met with a lot of difficulties. But it's also a lesson for us so that we can come up with innovative solutions that can address the situations or even conditions as they arise. Consequently, for me, the rollout, and for the government, the rollout of the DhowCSD by the Central Bank of Kenya is a great milestone, as it will not only enhance the operational efficiency of the government domestic debt program, but also support the deepening of the domestic capital market. The launch of this system marks a major step in the government's efforts to promote local savings and investment. Allow me, Your Excellency, to once again congratulate the Central Bank for delivering a state-of-the-art system that conforms to the international best standards, but also in addition allows us to join some of the line products that have been produced at a very, very micro level. And we do believe that a combination of these mid-row and also micro-level products is going to be quite productive for us and quite satisfying for us. Allow me also to recognize the role played by the World Bank, the National Bank of Georgia, and the market stakeholders in Kenya, commercial banks, investment banks, CMA, Nairobi Securities Exchange, KRA, and even IRA. Their input in the project has been invaluable. I also wish to acknowledge my colleagues from the National Treasury for their role in this important milestone. They are the most people who complain when domestic borrowing, or that is the market of public debt, does not work well because it affects them directly. So we have a stake here, and that stake is very, very important so that we'll take up any responsibility in future to make sure that we improve on this diversity of products that are flexible to the borrower, but they are also flexible in terms of providing the resources that we require.
There is a requirement for one to have a bank account in Kenya. And on this, I am speaking to many Kenyans who do not have a bank account. I'm also speaking to many Kenyans in the diaspora, speaking for many Kenyans who are in the diaspora who may not necessarily have a Kenyan bank account. My advice and feedback to the team is that you need to make it possible for Kenyans who do not have a bank account but have an M-Pesa account to also participate in this space. I also want to ask the team to look at the possibility of Kenyans in the diaspora who may not necessarily have a Kenyan bank account to use their Visa or MasterCard or credit card accounts to be able to also participate in the purchase of government securities. This will expand the scope of participants. It will democratize this space even further and make it possible for a bigger majority of Kenyans and investors from both local and in the international space to participate in this endeavor. The concern, of course, is usually KYC. But I think, speaking from where I am and with the experience of the Financial Inclusion Fund, commonly known as the Hustler Fund, I think the KYC provided by telcos is solid enough for it to be relied upon as a mechanism of knowing who these people are. I also believe very strongly that credit card agencies have sufficient KYC information for us to be able to rely on them to facilitate this process. One of the fundamental commitments we made to the people of Kenya is to enlist every Kenyan in the task of nation building by opening up opportunities for citizens in their millions across the country to pursue engagements that enrich their lives and bring them closer to their aspirations by two primary means. The first one is to remove all the structural barriers to the contribution of the majority of our people and eliminate systemic obstacles to their participation at any level in all sectors. This is out of the realization that Kenyans are not only capable of meeting their needs and creating wealth through hard work, but they also aspire to contribute to the baking of a national cake large enough to feed all of us instead of just waiting for morsels distributed through sometimes adversarial, competitive, and untimely, and sometimes acrimonious political mechanisms, as we all know. The second is to facilitate millions of Kenyans to participate and make their contribution through innovative and transformative policies, programs, and projects that facilitate access to opportunity and to the means of turning these opportunities into incomes as a path to improve well-being and create wealth through savings and investments. It is essential to highlight the government's improved tax collection efforts. The Finance Act 2023 introduces a taxpayer amnesty program for penalties and interests accrued as of December 31st, 2022. From September 1, 2023, just this month, to June 30th next year, you will have the opportunity to settle only the principal tax amount of outstanding tax debts incurred before January 1, 2023, as we are waiving penalties and interests over the 9-month period. It is very important for me to make this statement for the public. I know we have had a robust two-way conversation on what do we do with taxes that have penalties, that have accrued interest. We are now making an offer to our taxpayers who are trapped or struggling with interest, with accrued penalties, that you now have an opportunity to just pay the principal. And I expect that the tax-paying public will take advantage, especially those who are trapped in the space I am talking about. There is a case that I want to make for the people who do not necessarily want to work on 50,000. And I'm making a case for what we wanted to do with Emma Kiba before. The Emma Kiba did not go very far because it had many challenges. I am persuaded that it is possible for us to reduce the denomination. And I want the team to work on what is this denomination that can democratize that space so that the person you told us here, there is a person in Moyale. There was a reference to Moyale by somebody here. I suspect that that person in Moyale may not necessarily have the 50,000, but they could be having 5,000. And because there is no requirement now for them to travel to Nairobi and they can transact on their phone, there is absolutely no reason why we cannot facilitate that person in Moyale or indeed in any part of Kenya to have a transaction of 5,000. So again, we need a bit of democratizing that space and reducing the denomination of the available instruments, not necessarily in the region of 50,000 or 100,000, but I think the team should be able, Governor Thuge, to democratize that space And I have seen how we lock out many people sometimes by working with big numbers. And let me give you an example. Just in the city of Nairobi, we have 2.1 million people who have borrowed from the Hustler Fund, 2.1 million people. And in Nairobi alone, we have lent something like 5.7 billion to very small people, in Nairobi alone. Nationally, we've lent about 35 billion in a record 8-9 months, right? So if anybody underestimated the people in the small economy, as you may want to call it, you have to think again. And we have about 7 million people regular borrowing and paying in that space. We need to open up space for those people who are borrowing to also buy government paper. The new system delivers convenience, efficiency, and speed without compromising security and has enhanced security and transparency overall. With this new innovation, investors no longer need to physically visit central bank's head or branch offices to undergo the manual process of opening CSD accounts, which previously took 14 days and involved laborious manual transactions. The makers, operators, and users of the DAO from antiquity to our generation are united by one philosophy: the recognition that money is impatient and opportunities in the financial markets wait for no one. By retiring manual processes and providing digital platforms, the DAO allows investors to transact electronically at any time from anywhere in a matter of a few minutes. I think we've been told here how long it takes. The CSD Investors portal and mobile application have also delivered inclusion by opening up access to the securities market to everyone, regardless of their status, including many of whom the requirement of physical travel and manual transactions presented significant barriers. Just like the Hustler Fund, automation of services through digital platforms is firmly aligned with our commitment to expand opportunities for Kenyans in their millions. The transformation is already underway, and the central bank is now opening, I am told, 250 new CSD accounts daily. Before, it used to open 100 accounts monthly. In the first month of its operation, I'm told it is 3 weeks and a bit, 6,366 new accounts have been opened. A strong response from Kenyans has made a robust system, and the stage is set for record-breaking activities. We are here to launch a very special boat set to sail into an operating environment that is transformed and transforming under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. It is appropriate that the boat we launch on this occasion represents the intersection of fundamental components of our transformative agenda. First of all, the Central Securities Depository, CSD as it's called, has been automated and digitized to enhance its security and to enable it to serve investors faster and much more efficiently. Additionally, the CSD Investor Portal and the M-Akiba digital application have freed up access to the opportunity to invest and trade in government securities, enabling people of all walks of life to participate in the securities market, thereby facilitating a bottom-up growth of the sector. The use of technology to enhance security, efficiency, transparency, and inclusion is a constant theme in the implementation of our programs, as you may well have seen, from making sure that we digitize all government services. We use the digital space to distribute fertilizer, the digital space to reach out to the vulnerable, the digital space to provide financial inclusion. And we are progressing now the digital space to giving the young people of Kenya digital jobs. And that's the space we are working around. And therefore, what the central bank has done in digitizing this space and using technology to make it much more efficient is very much in line with our program.